What's up guys, Handish here, and today we're going to jump in with some Destiny 2 stuff as always. So we're going to talk about some new loot that's dropping in the forges, some forge specific emblems that you can now get. Some of these are pretty cool. There are also some other exotic drops to talk about, an exotic quest item, and remaining weapon frames that we'll be getting shortly. But then we're going to talk about the new Hunter Vanguard. We have some pretty strong hints as to who this could be. Some of you guys may know about it already, but we have some pretty concrete stuff to talk about right there, and it does relate to a returning character. So we'll talk about that. We've got some additional roundups from Bungie, information about exotic catalysts, the January update, and I want to point out a couple of things about farming mod components, cores, and all that kind of stuff. So guys, I hope you enjoy this video as always. So getting into this one, there is some new loot that you can get dropped in some of the forges. It appears that all of the forge-specific emblems are now available in the game, and primarily they appear to drop from related forge bounties. So you can see right here, I turn in an Izanami forge bounty, and I get the Tear of Izanami, which is actually a pretty cool emblem. Of course, we had Gafanan's Hammer earlier on in the week, but we now know that when daily bounties roll around that are linked to specific forges, you can get these emblems potentially dropped. In case you missed my video yesterday, I did speak about an item that we're going to need for the mysterious box, and shortly after the box is opened, we will need to complete a rare Black Armory bounty, and these are pretty hard to come by. They do drop randomly when you turn in daily bounties. I personally haven't seen one, and I know that's the case for quite a lot of other folks, and they do take a little while to complete as well, so if you do get one dropped, definitely complete it, hold on to it in your inventory. Once it's completed, it won't disappear, and like I said, a very credible data mine tells us that we will need to turn in one of these rare bounties, so in case we don't get one dropped alongside the quest, definitely hold on to it to avoid any lockouts or delays with the mysterious box quest in a couple of weeks' time. Also on the subject of forges, you can get the Platinum Starling ship dropped in the game now, but to get it, you'll have to complete 100 weapon frames inside of Lost Forges. So you can see right here, I've got a bit of progress that I still need to make, but this counts powerful and non-powerful frames. Once you've done 100 of them, you can get the Platinum Starling dropped. In the collections, there is a hidden ghost shell. This is also going to come from the forge. So we have the Armory forged shell. It's actually not visible in the game, but we can see it in the database. It's listed as coming from Baguzia forge ignitions, so it's something we're likely to get in early January as well. In terms of weapons, the only remaining frame that we know about would be for the Striker's Sure Hand. It's possible that we'll get this one in the upcoming reset. A few people have referenced as well how this bears a slight resemblance to the Izanagi's Burden. There was some speculation as well before. Some folks actually thought that the striper looked a little bit like a sword. I don't know if that's a thing, but I just thought I'd point it out. However, Chubby Bubble over on Twitter did point out that there is this list right here of weapon orders. It's hidden away in Ada1's space in the tower, and it lists rail cannon ×4, which is interesting because there was a railgun shown on the developer's monitor during one of the Vidox 4 annual pass. So will there be some kind of secret exotic inside of Black Armory? Well, who knows really? It could be that Izanagi's Burden is classified as a railgun of some sort. You can also see that the sheet lists the buyer, the Cypher Hill Corporation. Funnily enough, a Hill Cypher is actually a thing, and I believe there was one actually hidden in order to find all of the secret codes on Valunda. So who knows, maybe there's something to this. Maybe all of the numbers on this sheet could be a code in themselves. Final thing about Forge loot, of course, Black Armory pages are dropping for any lore collectors, and some folks have started maxing out this collection now, but a lot of people have actually been farming for these, using a kind of AFK farm that you can do. Don't worry, this is not AFKing with other players. What you can actually do is equip year 1 weapons as well as Eververse armor to drop your power level. As you can see, I'm just over 100 power here, and then when you matchmake for forges, because of your power level, it won't actually put you with other players. So some people have been doing this, failing the forge completion, which takes about a minute, for potential drops of those Black Armory pages. So it may be a thing you want to do if you do want to collect all of the lore. Absolutely though, you should do this solo at a very low power level to avoid being put with other players, or do it in a full fire team where everyone wants to do that. Absolutely do not go AFK with other players in those lobbies. Obviously it's frustrating for players, but also we've asked for matchmaking for a lot of these activities for a long time. So once again, I do not recommend AFKing while there are other players you've been matchmade to. Now though, let's speak about the new Hunter Vanguard. Or at least we're going to speak about a potential character, and we're going to have to start out with a bit of a spoiler, but a lot of folks I'm sure have heard about this by now. So this week, inside of Morrosov's Ascendant Realm, we are shown a cutscene where we see the resurrection of Prince Aldrin. So Prince Aldrin is now alive, he was revived by a ghost, so he is now a Guardian. And that in itself is definitely a bit of a plot twist. But things get even more interesting because of something called the Vanguard Dare. So going back to Cade 6, and the former Vanguard for the Hunter, Andal Brask, we learn a little bit about what exactly the Vanguard Dare is. So Andal Brask was the original Hunter Vanguard, and a close friend of Cade 6's. Of course, Cade now is a pretty legendary hunter, but we can see some concept art right here for Andal Brask. After becoming friends with Cade 6, they eventually made what they called the Vanguard Dare, and essentially Andal Brask challenged Cade to take up his position, of course the position of Hunter Vanguard, should he ever die. And eventually, indeed, Andal Brask did die, and because of this dare, Cade 6 became the Hunter Vanguard. And assuming this position, Cade 6 did indeed indeed create his own Vanguard dare. And you can learn about this inside of the Ace in the Hole mission in Destiny 2. One of the audio lines, Kate says, "This one's for the hunter who kills me. Best guess, Marcus Wren." And he says, "You realize you get my stuff now? All of my stuff, including the Hunter Vanguard gig. That's what we call a Vanguard dare. Sucks, doesn't it?" Of course, Marcus Wren is another famous hunter, associated especially with vehicles and SRL, but Kate says this one's for any hunter who kills me, which suggests that it would need to be a hunter specifically. Of course, we know that Prince Aldrin was the one who actually killed Kate 6, but if we look at the lore for Ace of Spades, we get a slightly different version of that Vanguard dare. Kate 6 says, "I, Kate 6, being of soundish mind and body, do hereby and henceforth and heretofore leave all my possessions to the person, alien, animal, or natural phenomenon what kills me. The aforesaid possessions include, but are not limited to, the Ace of Spades, any and all stashes I've hidden throughout the system, the Colonel, my faithful friend, and my debts which follow." And then it says the attached file is too big to download. But this version of the Vanguard dare, which seems like a much more formal version, doesn't reference only a hunter, but a person, alien, animal, or natural phenomenon. So considering Prince Aldrin did indeed kill Kate 6 and is now a Guardian, could Aldrin's resurrection literally be because of that Vanguard dare? Well, at this point it certainly seems possible, especially when you consider that so many references to this dare are made inside of Forsaken, where of course Kate's death actually unfolded. It's certainly a pretty interesting prospect, and there is a lot of lore and a series of events that suggest this. Interestingly, the ghost that revives Aldrin is known as Pulled Pork. That's actually a nickname that was given to the ghost, but there's some lore for this, and it says Pulled Pork is the name they've given to a very sweet, very earnest ghost that has been looking for his guardian for about as long as they can remember. There's also reference to the ghost having a new shell, and obviously the shell does definitely carry the theme of the Awoken, but also in the lore for this, some folks reference finding Pulled Pork on Mars, and of course it's pretty interesting because we know Prince Aldrin actually crashed on Mars before the events of Forsaken. Either way, Aldrin's ghost does carry the nickname of Pulled Pork. So are we looking at the potential new Hunter Vanguard? Well, there is a little bit of speculation there, but the Vanguard dare that Cade left does literally state that whoever kills Cade is entitled to the role of Hunter Vanguard. So it's a pretty intriguing question. Obviously, there are lore minds much better at answering this question than I am. I also find it pretty interesting though, that in early renders of Prince Aldrin, both in concept art, but also graphics renders that have been seen, Aldrin was holding a sawed-off shotgun. When Forsaken dropped, the shotgun was never present, essentially like it had been cut from the character completely, and I guess if we were to have a new Hunter Vanguard, much like Cade, it would make a lot of sense for them to have a pretty unique, identifiable weapon. So maybe there's a reason that the sawed-off shotgun went away for Forsaken, and perhaps we'll see Aldrin with this weapon at some point in the future, now that it's returned as a Guardian. So let me know your thoughts about that, guys. There are a lot of people who, of course, do not like Aldrin, because of course he murdered Kate 6, plus a lot of folks just feel that he's a bit of a douchebag. So let me know your thoughts below. Now though, let's round up a little bit of stuff, some news. A few folks were asking about Year 1 exotic catalysts, things like the Faction Rally catalysts, which Bungie said would have new drop sources inside of Year 2, and DMG said the team is currently working on a plan to reintroduce catalysts for Sunshot, Graviton Lance, and Sweet Business. For those who did not acquire them in Season 3, we do not expect these to become available in Season of the Forge. On top of this, there are other exotic catalysts in the game, Saurus Regime, Rat King, that were known to be associated with the Arms Week event, and Arms Week throughout the past few months has had quite a few updates in the database as far as data that is linked to it. We had new vendors added, each of them have an item called the Arms Week Introduction. Other exotic catalysts from Year 1 were listed as being associated with Arms Week. Bungie even teased the Rat King catalyst in a This Week at Bungie update before Warmind dropped, and then it never actually made it into the game, or at least it hasn't been released in the game. So with the constant progression that we've seen to the Arms Week event, little bits added here and there over the past few months, honestly I think Arms Week is something that Bungie are working on to introduce probably in a future season, definitely not this one, as DMG said, and that's probably when we're going to see all of the Year 1 catalysts we didn't get, and potentially new catalysts for Forsaken and Year 2 exotics as well. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait until a future season, but just as a reminder, there will be an update in January. So firstly, Bungie have said that they're going to be making a few changes to some Year 1 subclasses, basically buffing a whole bunch of vanilla subclasses. They haven't specified exactly which ones they'll be working on yet, but they're hoping to bring these into the game in an update in late January. On top of this, Telesto is going to see a nerf in late January, so it should be less potent in PvP content, but Bungie have said they want to maintain the potency in PvE. Nova Warp is going to see some kind of change. Bungie said specifically that a nerf for this is slated to land with the patch coming in late January. They also said that they do have their eyes on things like Shards of Galanor, as well as One-Eyed Mask, but they can't tell us specifically when any changes might come for those exotics yet. So it does appear that January's update will be a sandbox-focused update, and I'll keep you guys you as posted on that one. Of course, we have other new content coming on the 8th of January, things like Niobe Labs. We do get the last word quest on January 29th, so considering Bungie are saying late January for sandbox tuning, it's pretty possible that the 29th will be when that update drops. Very final thing I wanted to talk about right here, guys, would be the Dawning. So personally, I didn't spend a ton of time on the Dawning event this year. I was mostly focused on the forges and things like that. But of course, because you're constantly getting kills and being rewarded the items to craft things for the Dawning, you'll actually probably end up with quite a lot of stuff. So what I did is specifically tried to craft the items I hadn't made yet so that I could masterwork the entire oven. And the reason that is useful, sorry, I always giggle when talking about this oven masterworking, whatever it is, but the reason it's actually useful is it does reduce the cost of all of the gifts that you can produce for different vendors. So just as a quick shout, if you're not paying attention to this, definitely do before January 1st when the event goes away, because at this point you can literally, like I'm doing right here, just create a bunch of gifts, and you can probably create multiple for each of the vendors. Once you've got the gifts, clear all of your inventory of weapons and stuff like that, and just go turn them all in, and you'll be surprised how many masterwork cores, as well as mod components and other general materials, will actually get dropped. So I just wanted to point it out, definitely don't sleep on it. Honestly, I wasn't paying all that much attention, and then I realized just how many materials I had. So if you get a few minutes, you may as well blast through those, turn them in, and make yourself a little bit richer in D2's grindy economy right now. But guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, a like is very much appreciated. Let me know your thoughts on any of the forge loot, Prince Aldrin being the Hunter Vanguard. There are quite a few reasons it has potential to happen at this point, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. But if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe if you want to keep up to date with the world of Destiny 2. If you're celebrating the holidays or just getting some time off, then I hope you have a good one. But thank you for tuning in, my friends, and I wish you the happiest of holidays.